Hi, my name's Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel, and it's a big day for me today because it's the 4th anniversary of growing on the allotments. In fact, pretty much the 4th anniversary of growing full stop. I retired 5 years ago, and one of the things I really wanted to do was spend about two days a week growing my own food, and I started that in the back garden, and I just didn't like it because of all the frames and nets and all that sort of thing. It just made the back garden look really ugly. And so I was kind of a bit despondent about it all. And then I realised that I could get an allotment. I could move all that sort of infrastructure, polytunnels and greenhouses and things like that to the allotment, and leave the back garden as much more of an ornamental kitchen garden. And that's what we did. We got this plot, and then Debbie, my wife, loved it as much as I did, and so she got her own little plot. And then my middle daughter, she was really keen as well, and so although she's disabled, she got a plot. We help her out a bit with that. Yeah, so we've got this little sort of allotment empire now of 3 plots, and I do all the management and the planning and the seed sowing for all of those, and I do the videos, but we all sort of look after our own plots. So yeah, so I thought I'd do an anniversary tour. So the polytunnel is kind of at its most valuable at this time of year. Trestle table is covered with seeds. I'm going to do a detailed video with all the seeds and what we're growing at some future date, a few days time. But you can see there's a lot going on here, and lots more seeds at home. Lots of onions, of course. The polytunnel brassica bed is still really beautiful. So much high quality kale here, whereas the kale is kind of finishing outside and just all going to seed. It's going to seed in here as well, but there's loads of leaves, and these leaves will keep us going until the early kale plants come on stream sometime next month. And we've got some lovely lettuces here. And again, these will sort of keep us going, these lettuces and the ones outside, until the ones that we've planted at home come on stream towards the end of April. And then we're getting to the point now where we don't really need all of the salads that we've got in the polytunnel. So we start taking some of those out, and we start planting brassicas, which will help us in the hungry gap. So we've got some lovely calabrese plants in this bed. We've got some lovely cauliflowers in this one, and they're kind of interplanted into the spinach bed. We've got radishes around the outside. We've just finished actually our first succession of radishes. We've just finished harvesting those, and so these are just almost ready now. I actually picked the first few a couple of days ago, so that's the second succession, and the third succession I planted a couple of days ago. So the radishes are going really lovely. I'm pleased to say that the early carrots are finally springing to life. I've waited a long time for these to show some sign of growth. We're still harvesting new potatoes from our August sowing, notionally called Christmas potatoes. We've got about a month and a half supply of those, and then we'll switch over to these potatoes, which are growing very nicely in the polytunnel. They do need a bit of protection with fleece at night, but these will be ready. Well, they'll be ready middle of April, but I probably won't have to start harvesting them until the end of April, and so obviously you get a bigger harvest then. And then up in the roof we've got the strawberries, and they're all starting to grow quite well now. The only other thing of note are these perennial kale cuttings. I've got quite a nice selection of these. I've got some more down the other end of the polytunnel. They're doing pretty well. We've got some baby carrots here, which we've just started harvesting. These were planted last year. And outside on my plot, everything's still under cover, and it'll stay under cover for about another month. And underneath this little netted frame, we've got some cabbages which are coming on pretty well, and some salad rocket that needs taking out, and some really quite lovely corn salad around the edges. Corn salad's just finishing harvesting in this bed. There'll be spinach pretty soon. A lovely bed of Grenoble red lettuces in this little cold frame, and I've just planted a bed of red ruble kale here. Some winter radishes, which are mainly being picked, well, they are being picked for smoothie mixes at the moment. And just a few more lettuces. My only real bed that's empty at the moment, and this is where the early French beans are going. Those are doing really nicely at home. And I'm just going to put a low tunnel over here to warm the soil up, and then they'll get planted in about a week's time. I've got another little low tunnel here, and then we've got beetroot interplanted with spring onions, looking really beautiful, and then more of the same over here, and then little clumps of sprout plants growing really nicely for leaves in the hungry gap. And another little netted frame full of chard, looking a bit ragged at the moment. We're picking this obviously every week, and so every good leaf has been harvested. So this is my third succession of radishes, looking pretty good, growing really nicely. This is last year's red ruble kale, still fantastic in the smoothie mixes. It's a salad kale, red ruble. It's a bit tough at the moment, but you can cook with it, use it like spinach, or just use it in smoothies. It's really lovely. Low tunnel full of red kitten spinach, and there's some more down here. Again, every good leaf has been picked. And then these are my overwintering onions. Not spring onions, these have been grown for bulbs, multi-sown, 2 or 3 to a station. And then there's spring onions here, although again these are stir-on, they've been multi-sown, but these can be harvested and will be harvested as spring onions, leaving only 2 to 3 onions in a bunch to grow on to bulbs. And then one of the winter salad beds that's now being interplanted with sprout plants being grown for leaves. And then there's another lovely bed of lettuces here. This is going to be interplanted with kales fairly soon. And then in another little cold frame we've got my first sowing of carrots underneath this mesh just to keep them nice and moist. And another lovely winter salad bed, and a spring salad bed with peas along the back there, and the top will come off this bed in about 2, maybe 3 weeks. We'll put some supports in for those peas and they'll grow away like crazy. More peas along the back there, and just a few dregs of salads. And then my first succession of beetroot, which is growing away really nicely. There's some more in the polytunnel and some more in the low tunnel that you just saw. So plenty of beetroot coming along, and the quality of these leaves is fantastic. I'm going to start picking some of these. Just another spinach bed, fairly ragged looking strawberry bed, interplanted with fruit trees. And then a bed of field beans, soon to be harvested and replaced with brassicas. And this brassica bed is going to be all sort of summer purple sprouting broccoli, calabrese, broccolinis, basically all the broccoli flowers. And then the last of the brassica beds on my plot, again soon to be cleared, and that's where all the onion, well not all the onions, but a lot of onions will be planted in April. And we've got another cold frame just with some winter lettuces that are just finishing. This bed is very soon going to be planted with early baking potatoes. And then this is the chard bed, and in a few months' time this will be replaced by sweet potatoes. Last of the kohlrabi, just going to seed. We don't mind it when things go to seed, we love it. And another salad bed, that's the last of the salad beds. The raspberries, and then in this little cloche the next succession of spinach with some radishes down the end there. And then a few scrappy cabbages and things. This bed's soon to be replanted with more spinach, and then eventually in May, mid-May, it'll be planted with the winter carrots, Eskimo, and more sorry looking kale plants, and a few other brassicas down there. And then half of this is going to be French beans, and then the other half is going to be beetroot. And I acquired these planters, so these are new this year, and these are going to be sweet potatoes. And this is my little kind of woodland flower area. Strictly speaking, we're not really allowed to grow flowers on our allotment site, but I don't think they mind just on this little edge strip here. But it's mostly edibles. So I've got a lovely cherry tree here. I've got these amazing perennial kale plants. They're huge. I love the perennial kale, especially at this time of year. It's as all the annual kale is just finishing. It's really nice to have this in abundance. And then more fruit trees, pear, plum, apple, and there's a thornless blackberry here, and another apple tree, and another gorgeous perennial kale. Inky flowers, not very, just can't resist a few sebums, a bit of crocosmia, these alpines, which will soon be springing to life in the planting pockets. And then on Debbie's plot, there's a lot of beds just being cleared, ready for planting. There's still quite a bit going on. So in this centre bed, kind of in the centre of the orchard area, we've got some really nice bit of parsley, some sorrel, Welsh onions, overwintering onions, and some cauliflowers. Beds will soon be picking up. There's a lovely selection of herbs in these beds, and then this will be ready for replanting, as will this and this. And then we've got a double row of purple sprouting broccoli down here. The pigeons are just starting to get it now, so it needs netting. But yeah, this is going to be pretty prolific soon. So Debbie's plot really is the berries and the fruit trees. And goji berries, gooseberries, raspberries, all manner of currants, red currants, black currants, blackberries. That's going to shortly be asparagus. I missed the asparagus bed on my plot, there's nothing to see. Perennial kales, globe artichokes, thornless blackberries, more perennial kales, more blackberries, pear trees, more pear trees, plum trees. That might be the last of the cauliflowers that we've got until the ones in the polytunnel come to life. But anyway, still very welcome. Debbie's little sneaky flower border looking really rather fine. So a quick overview of Jennie's plot. You might see a couple of sneaky IBC containers that we've got now. Basically we collect the water into these containers now, and then over winter we're pumping it. We've got this little battery powered pump that we were given by Bosch, and we can pump it into the IBC containers, and so we can store quite a bit of water now, 2.5 cubic metres of water here I think. So these are new beds that we only put in last year. And these are strawberries, which you can't really see down the edges, and shallots down the centre. Strawberries, and soon to be shallots down the centre of there. And a really lovely selection of broad beans on this side, and garlic and elephant garlic on this side. And this will then be, later on, purple sprouting broccoli and winter cabbages over here. We'll actually put the winter cabbages in this path because it's nice and firm. And then down here, this will be pretty much all beetroot and carrots. At the moment this is a lovely bed of field beans. We don't just grow the field beans for their nitrogen fixing capability, we grow them for harvest, and that's why they're so low to the ground, because we are constantly harvesting the tips out of these beans. This bed will soon, very soon, be the brassicas, winter brassicas, and this is what's left of the winter brassicas right now, including collect plants that are nearly as tall as me and have provided a huge harvest over winter, and will continue providing a good harvest until, well, at least for another 3 or 4 weeks. And loads of sprout plants which have pretty much finished now. A rather splendid patch of beetroot which we've been harvesting for a few weeks now. A lovely selection of apple trees, little fig tree there, more apple trees, pear tree, plum tree, and more apple trees, and then some Hungry Gap kale, which is particularly welcome at this time of year, and it does throw out huge quantities of these florets, which are a particular sort of delicacy in the Hungry Gap. The double row of purple sprouting broccoli, and this one is at least netted. This is such an amazing crop, isn't it? Purple sprouting broccoli at this time of year. What's left of the winter cabbages, we do leave them in because we really like these seed heads, and there's a couple of hearted ones there, and cauliflowers that we've just picked, and then the autumn fruiting raspberries and currants, and then last but not least these few little bits of kale. And every last kale leaf at this time of year is just so welcome, really lovely. The last few Crown Prince squashes. So that's the end of the tour, but I thought I'd just talk a little bit about the future, since this is an anniversary. And you might think after 4 years getting a bit bored doing the same old thing, but actually I'm just incredibly excited at the moment about the potential. And that's because we're doing so much in the back garden and the front garden, and that's going to transform the way that we grow, because it means basically that a lot of the summer harvesting is done from home, and that just makes life so much easier for us. And that means it opens up a huge amount of space on the allotments to grow staples like onions and carrots and parsnips and the like. And that's just really exciting for us as well. They need a lot less effort, so that, again, we're always trying to reduce our effort. But it's also just, more self-sufficiency for more people. We're self-sufficient obviously at the moment, but not all of our extended family is, and so it's a great opportunity to extend love to all of them. And also we've just got this new, we've got rid of a load of junk from the conservatory, which is my den, and turned that into the most amazing grow room, and it's going to be really great in winter, especially the opportunities to grow early stuff is really going to be transformed by having the combination of really great light levels and really good heat levels. And it's that combination that I've always really struggled with in previous years. I've either got lots of light and no heat, or too much heat and not enough light. But but now we've got the two things together, and that's what really early stuff needs. It needs loads of light and quite a lot of heat, and so I'm really excited about the potential there. And so the future is looking great from a gardening point of view, and coronavirus is kind of messing everything up from every other perspective, so it's really nice to have something really great to look forward to. So with that, I think I'll draw to a close. I hope you enjoyed this quick video, and I'll see you soon.